Okay, this is game number 5 in the session. This is AIXIN, Got This Love. Waduh. Yeah, I received the key to play this one from Keymailer, so this is another sponsor game. If you guys interested, feel free to type !G or game in the chat room. Thank you. It's currently 7:41. I'm probably going to play until 8:30. Enjoy the stream, enjoy the broadcast. Thank you. Aku suka lagi story-nya. Aku juga pengen coba itu kayaknya. Aku kayaknya gak kepikiran mau PvP jika mungkin. Tapi gak tahu nanti ya. Nantilah saya boleh cek kak. Rencana tadi malam tapi gak jadi. Tadi malam aku jadi keenakan main satu game horror. Nantilah kalau gitu kayaknya. Ini kalau tidak salah katanya pendek kak. Seharusnya tadi malam, tapi tadi malam aku keenakan main game horror jadi gak jadi. Pindahkan lagi nanti aja lah. The rhythmically swaying cart smoothly stopped and I descended to the ground, waving goodbye to the peasant who had given me a lift. My muscles were stiff from the long ride and my hand once again clasped my bandaged side. The war was almost over, but my injury made it impossible for me to remain on the battlefield, so I was sent home before it was over. I did everything I could. The sound of the living cart dissolved in the rustle of grass along the road. The wind gently pushed me forward as I slowly walked through the field along the path that had become a symbol of home to me. Rounding the hill, the path turned left and went down to the sea, where a small coastal town was located. Finally home. 5 years ago, I walked here for the first time, tired, losing consciousness, barely able to move my legs from the wounds I had received. Who were they? Bandits? Security for another aristocrat? I couldn't remember anymore. I'd seen too much in my entire life before. Those who hired me must have decided that I was dead. In a sense, it was true because I was reborn in this town. One of the locals noticed me and helped me to get to the temple. At that time, they had just begun to build it on the side of a small sanctuary. I didn't care if I was going to die. I would have accepted such an outcome without regrets, but fate, in the form of the one in whose honor people built this temple stone by stone with such love, decided otherwise. The kind, radiant goddess of this place healed my wounds, both physical and those that heal with much greater difficulty. Her tranquil face on the day I saw her for the first time was forever imprinted in my memory. Surrounded by her care, I became a new person. I began to hear the peaceful murmur of water running under bridges and along town walls, the rustle of the wind shaking wind chimes on the roof of houses, and the cries of birds circling over the pier. To feel the aroma of delicate flower growing near her sanctuary and the fresh, salty smell of the sea, to watch the always clear sky over this quiet arbor, its fancy clouds, stars, and phases of the moon. When my body healed, I stayed in this town, helped complete the construction of the temple, and together with the other residents, began to worship the goddess. I found joy in peaceful life, in everyday activities and worries, in simple human existence. I mastered various crafts and helped whomever and whoever I could. I looked after the temple, prayed, and made offering on holidays. All this was for her sake, for the sake of the prosperity of her temple and all those she cared about. Home is where you feel good, where you are waited for and loved, and I had finally found it. Where I came from, where I was, and who I was, none of that mattered anymore. Here I became myself. I came to love this place. I came to love her. Unlike most of the gods that I had ever seen or heard about, the goddess of this town often came out to people. She took on various forms. She was fluttering around in the form of a butterfly, or basking in the sun in the guise of a cat, but more often she appeared in the form of a beautiful young girl, fragile and tender, and her favorite name was AIXIN. Once she appeared in this town, she illuminated it with her presence, giving the residents healing and peace, surrounding them with care and love. Truly, love was her very essence. She radiated with it, instilled it in the hearts of those who surrounded her. AIXIN's love healed the deepest wounds. She was always somewhere nearby. From dawn until late at night, you could meet her on the streets of the town, playing with children and laughing loudly, twirling in a dance to someone's flute, decorating a bride's hair with flowers, or keeping company with lonely elderly women whose lover has left this world. She was pure and spontaneous, like a child who has never seen evil. It was impossible not to fall in love with her, but no one dared to touch such a wondrous creature. In my presence, AIXIN would always become very quiet. She would often sit silently on the step of her temple, surrounded by falling petals, while I swept dry leaves nearby. When I looked up at her, her gaze was always full of love and tenderness, and a soft smile blossomed on her lips, making me smile too. The idyll of this town could not last forever, and the spark of the war that broke out in the west reached even this place. Then I took up the sword again, but not as a killer, as a defender. I could not allow the war to touch the place that had become my home, and although I continued to be its instrument, I felt that everything was different now. Now I had someone to protect, someone to worry about, and my actions were justified. I convinced myself of this, driving away heavy thoughts, and she was also saving me from them. Her gaze cleared the mind and calmed the heart. I just had to close my eyes for a moment and remember her sweet feature. Soon I would see them again. The goddesses. The sun was setting on the horizon behind me as a view of the town appeared over the hill. There were lights down there. Usually at this time people sang, gathering in groups to support each other while waiting for news from the front and to word of fears. Their songs were cheerful and encouraging, although there were sad notes in the voices of the singer. And then? But there were no songs now. Oke. Kasar banget. Apa itu Sika? Gue pikir tadi tipu, Kak. The distant ringing of wind chimes disturbed by the sea breeze resonated against the utter silence as if there was not a single living soul in this town. I returned earlier than I was supposed to, so I didn't expect anyone to meet me, but the ringing silence was not what I expected. Has the war really come even here? Holding my breath, I crossed the wooden bridge leading into the town and walked through the arch. Niatnya rebahan sambil main Archero di HP malah merem. Aku baru bangun. Kerjaan selesai tapi bang. Udah jam 8 bang. My heart was pounding in my temples. My hand fell on the hilt of the sword and froze, ready at the first need to snatch it from its sheath, slashing my enemies, my anxious thoughts rushing through my head. Tadi jam 4 ada yang masuk intern. Wih! Oke. Kalau intern, kerja dibagi 2 gitu bang. But the streets plunged into silence, were empty as if it were deep night. Light poured from the windows of houses here and there. Lanterns were burning along the streets and on the water, some of which had gone out, but the silence of the empty streets was broken only by the sound of my steps and quiet, intermittent breathing. There were no signs of battle or the presence of enemies. Kalau udah bisa balasin langsung, diaparin ke dia yang kerjain jadinya. Oke. Itu basically kalau begitu dibagi 2 kerjaan bang. Kan kerjamu tuh perhitungan per hari ya, bukan per jam kan? There was no sign of anyone's presence. I peered into painfully familiar bridges and canals in the hope of noticing movement, listened to the sound of waves crashing against the wall of houses, trying to hear laughter, singing, or snatches of a conversation. Everything around was so familiar and dear to my heart, and the inexplicable silence that fell on my home was all the more frightening. The living, moving, sonorous town seemed to have frozen and fallen to sleep. Jadi sekarang handle WA aku, sisanya balasin email PA DLL. Oh baik. Baik. Senang kak kalau begitu. Berkurang kerjaan sedikit. Perhaps someone died and the town is in mourning. Where are all the people? What's going on here? Is this me who died? The door of the house closest to me was ajar and I decided to go inside, knocking softly. A young couple lived here, husband and wife. I knew them. This man and I laid the roof of the temple together while his wife weaved plants around its walls and torii. They were lying together on the floor near the mat, completely dressed as if they had decided to lie down for a while but were so tired that they couldn't find the strength to walk to the bed. What if they are... No, this cannot be. Having driven away bad thoughts, I came closer and noticed breathing with relief. They both seemed to have passed out or were sleeping very soundly. Their faces were calm and peaceful, their breathing was deep and even. Okay. Aku mau nulis suka. Sekarang gantiin mbak gue yang bobo. Selamat tidur bang kalau begitu. Selamat beristirahat bang. Not daring to disturb their peace without understanding the situation, I went out and moved deeper into the town, checking a few more houses along the way. The doors were not locked. People seemed to have suddenly decided to take a nap, abandoning all their activities. Some were sleeping, having reached their bed or a bench, others right on the floor. I also found several people outside. They were sitting, leaning on the candle fans. People slept cuddled together or alone with babies in their arms. Even children, who usually played late into the night and were so reluctant to go to bed, were sleeping. I tried to rouse several people, but their sleep was sound as if under a spell. No matter what I did, no one woke up from this strange stupor or even moved. The townspeople slept soundly, uninterruptedly. Every single one of them. What's going on here? I looked around in puzzlement, judging by the state of the candles burning in the houses and the number of lanterns that had gone out. I was trying to understand how much time people had spent in this terrible sleep, when suddenly I noticed a barely perceptible fog in the air, shrouding everything. It spread along the street and across the water, condensing toward the town center, making the temple almost indistinguishable. I felt like I was pierced by an ice arrow. Okay? Ini di kasur lihat Bang Adli, belum tidur. Selamat bersiap-siap tidur Bang. Semoga tidak bikin mimpi buruk Bang, nonton aku di kasur Bang. Forgetting about my wound, I ran as fast as I could. The always burning lights of the temple were extinguished and it was plunged into darkness. The fallen petals of the flower that framed the entrance covered the steps. Okay. A sharp gust of the wind carried them away and the wind chimes made a shrill ringing as I flew up the step and opened the doors of the temple. Aku malah basah mas. Kenapa basah? Suara saya bukan tipikal suara-suara yang bisa bikin basah bang. Hidupin kipas angin bang, biar tidak keringatan bang. It was dark and cold inside. The light of the moon rising in the sky illuminated a small area on the cold stone floor. Ooh, is this AIXIN? AIXIN was sitting there in the complete darkness and solitude. I rushed towards her but stopped short and dropped to one knee, not daring to get too close. Wow, so handsome, Lady AIXIN. My heart was pounding wildly with joy that she was here, alive and conscious, and with worry if she was okay. She flinched when I approached and turned her head, but I could not see her face. Why? Lady AIXIN, you? What happened? The goddess hesitated to answer, lowering her eyes, and then, as if with difficulty, she looked up at me with an expression which I saw for the first time and I wish I'd never have seen, full of despair and fear. Wow, ada bagus juga. Gambar doang tapi cakep kak, kayak pakai pensil gitu loh. I extended my hand to her and stopped myself again when I saw how she shrank. She's afraid of me, but why? What happened here, lady? Why is everyone sleeping? What's going on? Has someone invaded us? Are you injured? Please tell me, how can I help? AIXIN slowly shook her head, biting her lip nervously. It's... She whispered something unintelligible and I leaned toward her to hear when suddenly... Don't come near me. Why? She shrank and turned away, returning her gaze to the floor. Wow! At her words, I recoiled and froze, not taking my eyes off the fragile, now translucent figure, deathly white in the cold light of the moon. The goddess never pushed anyone away. In her presence, I always felt light and calm, as if all my problems turned into dust at once, but now the aura that surrounded her fell heavily on my shoulder. The cold in the temple was penetrating to the bones and unimaginably sad. She sat on the icy floor, completely chilled, but this cold seemed to be coming from herself. Everything around seemed to have died, even the wind fell silent. I did it. The fog? They are all sleeping because of me. There was a ringing silence in the air. I was confused, didn't know what to say. Did she put the townspeople to sleep? But why? She wouldn't harm the residents willingly, so there had to be a reason that pushed her to make everyone fall asleep. Lady, last night I felt something terrible happen to my sister. Who? We are connected, you know. Although I do not have the gift of vision, I immediately understood. I felt it. The words were not easy for AIXIN. Her voice was broken and trembling. She could hardly hold back her tears. The man who was in love with her, he? AIXIN must have been talking about our general. Her sister, the seer goddess, accompanied our army using her gift to help us resist our enemies, instilling in us courage and determination. When she, standing behind the general giving a speech to us, looked at him with admiration, none of us had any doubt about victory. Many guessed the general and seer were connected by something more than unity in the face of the enemy. The goddess guided him, foreseeing the outcome of the battles, and endowed him with the strength to implement his plans. Infinite trust reigned between them, and he always relied on what the goddess was told by her, foreseeing her. There's a but. Our victory was predetermined. There were only a few weeks left until the end of the war, when suddenly there was a discord between the general and the seer. She didn't show up to the last meeting. No one knew what happened. There was a rumor that she did not support the plans the general was making. The enemy's spear made it impossible for me to know how it all ended. So, he cut the heart out of her chest. From a goddess, something that basically untouchable. How though? He just did it when my sister decided to leave him. So, she cannot die, but she is no more. There is only a spirit without a heart, full of despair, fear, and pain. And I feel this pain. Okay. At least I was able to look at your face one more time before you learned that the gods are not as inaccessible as they seem. They don't? Huh? If the love of my seer sister turned out to be so blind that she didn't foresee the betrayal, then what can we say about me? Okay. What if someone rips out my heart too? You don't think that any of the residents are capable of this, do you? I don't even know if you are capable of this. Oh, hence why you are scared of me. Okay. AIXIN covered her face with her hand and cried silently. My heart was beating so fast as if it was ready to burst out of my chest. AIXIN's words were like a stab to the heart. I would never do that to you, lady. I would kill anyone who dared to raise a hand against you, even myself. The goddess was silent, still covering her face with her hand. Does she see everyone as a traitors now because of the general atrocities? Words were not an art I mastered. I could hardly influence anything through them in this life, but now I had to convince her that she should not be afraid of those who were drowned in this terrible endless sleep. Okay. There is no one who doesn't care about you. We love you, cherish, and appreciate you. You can trust us all. Okay. What if my sister's lover spoke the same word to her? He also swore his love to her, convinced her that he could be trusted, that he would protect and never betray her. The people of this town are not like him, and I'm not like him. My sister also thought that he was not like others. She believed him, she was blind. Other people's hearts are like an open book to her, so why didn't she see it coming? Faith in pure feelings will destroy me too. Okay. But these people, they have been sleeping for over 24 hours. There are children among them. I beg you, remove this spell, none of the resident will harm you. If I say the name of someone who is especially dear to me, as if I were a person, a human girl, ready to give my heart to only one. Who? How many will continue to love me without asking for anything in return? Huh? Taking a deep breath, I was about to convince her again of the opposite, that she had nothing to fear, that people wish her happiness no matter what and would accept any of her choices, but I stopped short, immersed in thoughts. What's the point of convincing someone of something you don't believe in yourself? AIXIN's doubts were not groundless or exaggerated by what happened to her sister. It's natural for people to want those they love to be with them, and it's natural for them to fear more than anything else that their love will leave them. Many men, boys, and even girls of our town would be happy if AIXIN became their life partner, and they would all be in despair if her choice did not fall on them. And if she suddenly decided to leave, no one would let her go so easily. Another question was how far they would be willing to go and what to step over in order to keep her. It was unlikely that any of the townspeople seriously thought about the possibility of becoming the goddess lover. The title is Goddess Love, okay? Despite her appearance, every time as she approached them, no one had any doubt that they were looking at a deity. Trepidation prevented them from touching her. Had it ever even occurred to anyone that this might be possible? For general, nothing was ever impossible. Soon everyone would know about this, and then... Would you stop me if I decided to leave? Or if I fell in love with another man? Okay. At the thought that she would leave, fear pierced me, the one I had not experienced even on the battlefields. Losing someone so valuable to whom the meaning of my entire existence relied was much worse than death, and just the thought of it almost made me jump up from my knees to hold on to her. AIXIN smiled bitterly and then looked at me questioningly. What's the point of keeping someone close to you if it only brings them suffering? Okay. Is it possible to force someone to love against their will? Picking a flower, knowing that it will wither. Or cutting out a lover's heart from her chest. Okay. Ini benar-benar teks. Teks doang. Sama gambar doang. If the general loved your sister, he would never hurt her if he truly loved her. Gamenya emang kayak gini doang, Wah. Tapi kalau nggak salah katanya pendek, 45 menit selesai. Or there was something that became more important to him that his feeling for her, if they ever existed at all. I didn't know him closely, but I don't think that given the choice between the steer and his ambition, he would choose the first. He was ready to do anything for the sake of his goal. To achieve them, he needed a heart to predict the future. Oh. Balik lagi. Loh, dari tadi si Ivy bukannya udah tidur? Belum kan? Selamat pagi, Kak. Selamat tidur kembali kalau sudah mau tidur kembali. Tadi aku pikir sejak itu udah tidur lagi. Baru bangun, Om. Apakah sudah mau tidur lagi kalau begitu? Love has nothing to do with passion. Canda? Kok canda? It pushes people to do monstrous, crazy, scary things. Okay. Such a wonderful feeling. I always believed that love can dispel any darkness. I came to this town dreaming of creating a paradise and abode of love where everything would be saturated with it. I thought maybe there just isn't enough of it in this world. But it's not about quantity, it's about human essence which never changes. Ya gara dongin jadi pengen balik Wawo. Oh, I see. Tapi gamenya emang kayak gini, Kak. Dia emang teks doang. People have distorted this beautiful feeling, raise their hand even against God. Love does not dispel the darkness in their heart, it creates it. Turns the lover into monster and loved one into victim. How stupid it was not to notice all this. Okay. Outside, the wind rose again and the clanging sound cut the silence between us. Everything turned upside down inside me. Hearing such words from AIXIN was scary, unbearable, almost physically painful. The world she created was crumbling, my world. And I couldn't do anything, couldn't help in any way because I was one of those whom she was now afraid of, through whose fall everything she believed in was shaken. Was this really the end? Had we really passed the point of no return and nothing could be fixed or returned to the way it was before? Only at that moment I noticed that the wound of my side had opened. If only I could do something, erase from the face of the earth all the cruelty and darkness that was causing AIXIN such pain, I would give my life for that. What was it worth if I was not able to protect what was dear to me? Okay. However, my death would not solve anything. It was powerless against the truth of this world, just like AIXIN. We were all imprisoned here, we cannot hide forever, turn a blind eye to this truth. And yet, I remember again how I came here for the first time. Everything that AIXIN discovered now I had known for a long time, long before I met her since childhood. But when her love illuminated my life, I realized that I was wrong about everything. She changed me, healed my pain and anger, and now she herself needed help. Could I give her at least something, help her find meaning again, as she once helped me, if I spoke on behalf of the traitor of her faith in pure feeling? Or maybe that's precisely what I could. Much of what you said is true. Very often love makes people do terrible things. It confuses all other feelings. It brings out everything that is in person. And it's not always something good, just as what people call love is not always what it seems, which was the case with your sister and the general. Lust, a thirst for control and power are often hidden under this mask. Minal Mas Adli, minal Kapten. Selamat pagi. THR ditunggu Kapten. Memalir batin. Selamat pagi. But when we are truly in love, we tend to want the one who love to love us back and never leave us. Sometimes so much so that our whole life, all desire and aspiration become tied to one single person. Lah, kenapa lah? The fear of losing this person gives rise to a variety of feeling. Anger and envy appear, the desire to tie them to yourself at any cost, even by force. I've seen this so many times. I used to think that this was love, this painful obsession. Yang tua yang kasih THR, tidak boleh begitu. Yang lebih berada bisa memberikan THR kepada yang kurang berada. Maybe people crave mutual love so passionately because they really like it in their difficult life, full of hardship and adversity. Gak boleh bawa umur? Ya gak boleh. However, it seems to me that love is the solution to this problem. I want to say deep down everyone needs it, and maybe there really isn't enough of it in the world. That's why people want it so much. It's the only thing that can dispel the darkness, as you said. You weren't mistaken all this time, it's just everything is more complicated. Okay. Selamat pagi, Kapten. Selamat datang. My words seemed jumbled to me. I was worried and I didn't know how to describe what I was feeling. I didn't know if they made any sense at all because I was talking mostly about myself. I couldn't speak on behalf of whole humanity. All I had was my own feelings. I had never spoken to anyone about this topic. I was not used to sharing my experiences. I kept everything to myself and could not imagine that I would ever discuss such thing with Goddess in this way, but I felt that I had to say this, confess to her. The love? All this time my eyes were straying, but now I look up at AIXIN, looking straight into her eyes, honestly and openly. She listened very attentively. I won't bother you with story about my past, just know that my life was joyless, full of contempt, hatred and anger toward others and myself. There was no point in it, just survival and unleashing everything I felt on another. When I was wounded, I headed towards this town. I don't know why, I guess they call it fate. Death seemed like a relief to me. I never brought anything good to anyone in my life, only sorrow and pain. But when I entered this temple, I felt your love and acceptance. For some reason you saved me then, a murderer who took people's life for money. You saw something in my heart if you saved me, didn't you? What do you see in it now? Oh! Now I can't see anything. Why? I was so naive back then, kind to everyone with exception. No, it was not naivety. You've seen people's soul and know it better than me. You have never been blind in your kindness. Ooh. At that time I saw that you were kind. I saw it in the depth of your soul behind everything that filled you at that moment. You were a resilient, brave person capable of caring and pure, sincere love. You were not mistaken, lady. Haven't recent years proven that you were right? But you still were not able to tell me that you would let me go. You needed love so much and I was glad to give it to you like everyone else in this town. But does this mean that I have become its hostage and am I vulnerable until I belong entirely to those to whom I give it? Okay. Is there such a love when a person truly thinks about the good of the beloved, whatever it may be? It's so hard for me to believe this, and yet I hope that I was right in believing such love exists. I am so scared of losing this faith. Would you really leave me if I ask? If you knew that I really need this and it would be better this way? What if she really left, disappeared? What if she found happiness with another person, not me? What if I never saw her again? Happiness in the path as she was choosing should have brought me peace if I stated that I truly love her and wish her well. Why wasn't this happening? Did this mean that I was lying to myself? But I had to be honest with her. It's not easy for me to answer this question, lady, but I won't lie that the thought of you leaving doesn't terrify me. Oh, it's like losing the meaning of life again, losing the most valuable thing in it that all my thoughts and desire boil down to. I live for you. If I lose you, I will lose everything. Oh. Okay. But at the same time, all I want is your happiness, and if you're unhappy, there will be no meaning in my life. Baik. Ntar kak, mau minum telangin. I was afraid that you might alter the man, that there was the same darkness in you and in every other person. These thoughts were the worst, and at the same time the belief that this could not be true remained my last hope. I was stronger than fear. You've always been special to me, only you could help me, convince me, calm me down. Oh. And I was just waiting, not sure for what exactly, because you might not have returned and the war was not over yet. It was so stupid. But you are here, you came to me almost immediately as soon as I mentally called you when I needed you the most, as if you felt it. Perhaps this is really fate? Will it really treat me as cruelly as my sister if I decide to stay? I was silent. You're not going to leave us all, are you? What you said earlier calmed me down and at some point almost restored my former faith, although doubts remain in my heart and pain for my sister drowns out all feelings. But I still understand that I was mistaken in many ways and I was wrong. What I have done to the people of the town who loved, appreciated and trusted me is wrong. This is a mistake. I was stupid and put their lives in danger. I repaid their kindness with doubts and mistrust. I turned the ability to give them sound, restorative sleep into evil. The feeling of guilt toward them will never go away and neither will the fear. Even if they don't find out everything has changed, I have changed. Everything will also change the world after my sister's death, I feel it. I will no longer be able to look at the world and each of its inhabitants as before without fear. And they won't look at me the same way even if they remain ignorant. And you won't. No, lady, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you did. Too little time has passed, there is nothing to worry about. You are not to blame for anything, and if it's a matter of fears, then leave it to me. I will protect you from anyone who dares to harm you. Oh. So? The thought of separation hurts me too, but do not ask me to stay, you understand everything. So she leave. Light as a bird feather, AIXIN flew off the floor before I even realized that it was all over. In an instant I lose sight of her, only out of the corner of my eye catching a sight of a translucent train of colossus. Another moment and she was already at the door of the temple trying to quickly fly out. I jumped to my feet. 1,000 thoughts managed to flash through my head in those seconds, 100 emotions, desperate, bitter, angry. I turned around sharply looking at AIXIN's fleeing silhouette and... Oh, there's an option! Quick save. Is this the ending? In one leap, covering distance between us, I grabbed her arm and squeezed it tightly. The wound on my side exploded with pain, but I didn't care about that. Being left without AIXIN, deprived of the opportunity to look at her, to be with her, was worse than death. No matter what I told her today, no matter what I convinced myself of, I couldn't let her leave. You can't do this to all of us. Stay, AIXIN, stay with me. 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. A sharp ringing hit my ears. The wind chimes hanging on the roof of the temple all fell at once, breaking on the stone floor. AIXIN tried to pull her arm away, not taking her frightened eyes off me, but I only clenched my fingers tighter. Suddenly everything started to blur. I saw my hand squeezing the goddess' wrist, a fragment of her sad face indistinct as in a dream. The dream she was plunging me into. My body was weakening. I could barely stand on my feet, holding her arm with all my might. No, no, you won't leave. Does she go? My eyes began to close. The last flicker of consciousness faded one after another. I could no longer sleep. So everyone died then? For some reason, I remember the steps covered with autumn leaves spinning in the dawns with each swing of the broom in my hands and the warm loving gaze of AIXIN, smiling as soon as our eyes met. I kept her face in my consciousness until the last moment, until darkness came. The end? Oh, kena sel kah? Oh, that's bad ending. Through sheer willpower, I restrained myself so as not to rush after her. What's the previous one? I turned around sharply, looking at AIXIN's fleeing silhouette and froze. Oh, I see. Through sheer willpower, I restrained myself so as not to rush after her, not to hold her against her will, forcing her to stay with me. I didn't lie to her when I said I would have let her go if she asked. She didn't deserve such betrayal. Taking one last look at her, I turned away so as not to see her leave. Everything in my chest felt torn. The awareness of loss was becoming more and more painful with every second. Would this wound heal again? Or would it torment me until death, like the phantom pains of those who lost their arm and leg? I lost something more important in my limbs. And yet, so be it, as long as she was happy. Oh. And she's back? Wow, so pretty. Her gaze expressed surprise and some confusion, but there was something else in it, painfully familiar and dear, love and warmth, just like before, where nothing had happened, when we all had lived in this little heavenly world that she created for us. But now her gaze was more mature, and I read gratitude in the depth of her eyes. Oh. From her touch, the nagging pain in my chest instantly subsided, and it became easier to breathe. You really let me go? Yeah. You are free, lady. I won't stop you. You alone know what will be best for you. And if your heart tells you to leave, then I hope that even if far from here, you will find a desired peace, heal the wound from the loss of your sister, and be joyful as before. You said that you live for me and my happiness, and with my departure, your life will lose meaning. That's not true. Know that I will be happy if you are happy. Everything you have done in recent years is still full of meaning. Live, my dear. Love and be loved. See joy in small things as you come. May your life be filled with all possible blessing. So she... Oh! Woohoo! So she lived then? In the end? Kenapa, Randy? That's a good ending, I guess. Selesai kak? Tamat? Pendek teh gamenya. amat gak all ending? 11.000. Melodrama. Baik. Good writing though. Yalah kak, mau lanjut kalau begitu.